It's Friday, November 3rd, 2023, and here's what's shaking at the Almond Alliance. I'm Aubrey Bettencourt, your president and CEO of the Almond Alliance, the voice of American almonds in Sacramento, Washington, D.C., and beyond. It's a hat kind of day. By the way, if you don't have one of these, you got to be a member to get one of these, which brings me to membership renewals. They are still out and about. We are so thankful for all of you who have stuck with us, because we stick with you. And if you're interested in getting the amazing content like this and even more in-depth content that's coming out from various parts of the Almond Alliance, some of it is exclusive, become a member. Reach out to our Director of Membership and Events, Annie Romero. She will hook you up. You can also check that out at almondalliance.org. So what's the team been working on? First of all, we got to thank the team. The team's been keeping the wheels on. It's kind of these dog days right now. As we know, the sessions ended in Sacramento. So coming out of Sacramento, we're actually dealing with some of the repercussions coming out of Sacramento. And that seems to be a theme quite often. But also with that, we're really focused on where can we get ahead. So in partnership with our friends over at the Almond Board, we're actually doing a lot of deep work, as we would call it, really drilling into some of the regulations that may be coming down the road from the Department of Pesticide Regulation, DPR, as well as CARB, the California Air Resources Control Board, based on a couple of laws that were signed. One is a law that was signed by the governor dealing with GHG emissions reporting. We're working through what information we already have as an almond industry, which we have great data. It's one of our greatest assets. It's actually one of our greatest weapons in our arsenal, but it's about communicating that data correctly and making sure we communicate that to inform policy and inform program and regulation. And I know what you're thinking, Aubrey, you're crazy. They're coming after us. This is where you get ahead of the game, where we try to be in the room writing these policies in a way that works for us. So we're in the middle of a lot of deep work on that with regards to CARB. That came straight out of legislation that was signed recently by the governor, and that had moved through the legislature around, again, greenhouse gas emissions reporting standards. Still a lot of early phases. Even the governor himself admitted when he signed it that this thing is like on the wrong timeline and it has a lot of things that need to be defined. When I hear that, I hear opportunity. That's what we're working through now. And again, we have a lot of good assets. We want to be in the room, giving voice to the writing of these policies to make sure that almonds have consideration so that we can keep doing business. I mean, this is how it's done. So we've been working on that. Another thing coming out of all of this, interestingly enough, a couple things out of DPR this week. One is we've been going to and attending a number of public hearings and listening sessions that the Department of Pesticide Regulation has been hosting around their new strategic plan. This is the new strategic plan for their entire department. What's of note in that it's integrating the sustainable pest management recommendation paper that was put together and released earlier this year. There's some things in there that still leave a lot of questions around following the science, allowing for swift approval of alternatives to various chemistries, pest prevention pieces to it. There's a lot of components to this that have it's kind of a moving target. They're getting put into the strategic plan for the department, and the department is currently taking a chance to listen to hear what feedback we're all giving as stakeholders. They have, I think, 1 or 2 more listening sessions to come. You can check this out online at their website. We've been actively watching it. We're preparing to issue comments for that, and we've been talking to the department. Interestingly enough, we actually do talk with them, and we have a good relationship with them, and as good can be when you consider the pressures that they're under and the priorities that they are setting. So we're working through this. It's an interesting time. It's an interesting thing. It's very much like setting a path and setting a direction for the department for the next 5 to 10 years. They say 5 years. I think that, once you start a train, it's hard to slow it down. So you want to get in and try to influence this process now. Of course, when you're on those calls, be prepared. There's, this is your trigger warning. There's a lot of other perspectives that get brought up, especially in the public comment period. So if you're interested in issuing your own public comment, check out the DPR's website. Look for their strategic plan. There is a way to submit comment on your own. Like I said, we're going to do the same. We'll probably talk a lot more about this, especially the Sustainable Pest Management Program. that has a lot of interesting recommendations. It has a lot of things that are missing too. A lot of great opportunities that were missed in that plan. This is something that we've talked about in our comments to the department on multiple occasions, and we should probably do a full podcast on it at some point. I think we need a full economic study of it, and some of the impacts and ramifications of some of the policies being recommended in it. It'll be interesting to see, though. We work a lot on developing good practices and always getting better at what we do as farmers. And we have a lot of good data, but we need to make sure the data is getting in front of the decision makers. So that's a lot of what we're working on there. I hope that wasn't weasel words. It's this interesting influx period that could have a lot of serious ramifications as different policies and programs go into place. So we've inserted ourselves into that space because it's important for us to be in that space, to look out for all of you and all of what we do. Another thing, DPR. Okay, so we're getting a few phone calls about the Category M QAC QAL testing that's going on and the deadline for that being at the end of this year. If you know what I'm talking about as I speak in code, or what seems to be code, it probably applies to you. This is about getting your testing for maintaining your permit for fumigation. There's information about this online. There are study guides online. There are testing scheduling available online. We are hearing of some difficulties around getting a hold of materials, getting a hold of testing. Really understand the clarity around you have been recategorized. If you didn't think you needed to retest, you do. If you do any non-soil fumigation, and if you do any, I think, soil fumigation as well, you have to get retested. And so I would encourage you to check out DPR's website on that. Look for what are the upcoming requirements. We'll try to get some information about this out in our e-news as well so that you're made aware. We're working to see if we can get an extension in this process. But that's also, we're having to kind of rebuild the timeline on this. This is all due to creating consistency regulations. This actually dates back to like 2016. It came into effect of July of this year. The materials and the testing materials weren't available until August, and we know we're in the middle of harvest. So we're working really hard to coordinate with some of our partners, as well as to work with the department on making sure you have the adequate time and materials, because we don't want to not be in compliance here. The world requires us to be in compliance on this, and we want to make sure that we continue to deliver safe and healthy products around the world. So if you think this applies to you, if anything I just said, Category M, QAC, QAL, retesting, go check it out. It probably does apply to you. If you need more information, or if you're having any difficulty getting materials or having any difficulty getting testing times, give us a call at the Almond Alliance office in Turlock. So this week, a special committee on ports and goods movement convened in the Port of San Francisco in the Ferry Building, which was kind of cool. Never been there, so that was awesome. And we were asked to testify as one of 3 on an ag panel. It was the point of this special committee is they've been going around the state and members of the state legislature asking a lot of questions, doing a lot of deep dive, and their goal is to put out a white paper with recommendations for how to do overall infrastructure into a statewide plan for goods movement, port strategy, goods movement around the state. So we were there with a number of, Port of Oakland, Port of San Francisco, Port of Redwood City, Port of Stockton. We were out there with our friends at Farm Bureau and Sunkist and other places. You got another panel dealing with shipping and piloting and safety standards and things like that. Really an interesting and actually very frank conversation around the incredible investment needed in our ports and the incredible management upgrade we need in our ports. A sad fact I heard was the Port of Oakland, which is a perfectly balanced port. I mean, it's the envy of the world. It imports 50% and it exports 50%. It's perfectly matched. And unfortunately, the Port of Oakland over the last 5-10 years has dropped from the 4th largest port in the U.S. to the 10th largest port in the U.S. because of inefficiency, because of the inability to invest and to deal with congestion and to deal with better land use management of the property. Data collection, you name it, all of the problems that we already know with the Port of Oakland. Guess who's replaced it? Port of Savannah in Georgia. That's a state-operated port. And so really looking at what are the differences in policies there. For us at the Almond Alliance, we came in, we told our story of what happened during convention, during the pandemic recovery. We talked about a lot about, the work we did on the Almond Express, partnering with each part of the supply chain to create a multimodal, multi-port strategy that allows us to continue to move goods, that allows us the flexibility, which in turn becomes the resilience that we need when there are challenges at the ports that are out of our control. And we talked a lot about how, while we're returned to pre-pandemic pricing in some places, we're not seeing some of the services return. We still don't have Middle Eastern lines out of Oakland from Hapag-Lloyd. And we still are seeing a lot of our product go through alternative ports like Houston, Savannah, Norfolk, and others. This, of course, is a gut punch to Oakland, which is kind of our natural home. It's the largest agricultural port. It's 80% of our almonds, 70% of our almonds typically went out that way, 70 to 80%. And while we've kind of, dealt with the recovery side of COVID, and we're still, of course, on the market side, we're dealing with a lot of the repercussions of that from carryout. But we have more challenges coming that are going to make Oakland a very unattractive place. In fact, going to make any West Coast port a very unattractive place. If you don't know about the Clean Fleet mandate that's coming in January, this is a new mandate that will require all heavy-duty and medium-duty load drayage trucks, so the trucks that do into port, all of them, any new trucks in drayage fleets have to be zero-emissions vehicles. Let me say it again. Any heavy-duty or medium-duty drayage truck that goes into a port starting January 1 that is bought, any new one, has to be a zero-emission vehicle. And all fleets have to be zero-emission vehicles, of drayage fleets, have to be zero-emission vehicles by 2035. This is a challenge beyond crazy. Pretty much everyone who got on the panel, didn't matter if it was a port operator, a trucker, or us, we all said this is about to be devastating in terms of what it does for equipment availability, for trucking availability, the amount of vehicles that'll be on the road. The goal is lofty. It's to, and we get it and we support it. We want clean air around our ports, which typically are in urban areas, but doing this actually might have an adverse effect. And more importantly, the glide path for doing this is non-existent. If you're interested in more about this, and by the way, ag vehicles and off-road vehicles are on a similar timeline, pushed out, I think, another 10 years, but we'll talk about that another time. But this is about to have a huge impact. And so we talked a lot about needing to invest in basic infrastructure. It's like Maslow's hierarchy of needs for the 21st century for California, reframing our infrastructure that will allow us that flexibility, that multimodal option to get product moving and to be in compliance. The challenge here is having availability of these trucks to even purchase, the amount of time they take, the infrastructure to fuel or to charge these vehicles is not in place, and definitely not in the places that we need. Check out our buddy Matt Clark at Terrain, the economist that we have had at convention this last year. He turned out a great paper this year analyzing this and using almonds as the perfect example of the distance we have to go from our hullers, shellers, and our packagers to our ports on the West Coast, and how all of those trucks that go from our hullers, shellers, and packagers to those ports are going to qualify as medium and heavy duty. And do we have trucks even that can make it with regards to these challenges that are coming? So check out that report. In fact, we'll put a link to it, and I'm going to get a hold of Matt. Maybe that would be a fun interview for us too, but it's a fascinating report. We've been really pushing it with the governor's office, with the state, with GoBiz, with DOT, and of course this committee. We'll be submitting some specific recommendations to them for port and infrastructure investment for the state. Again, we really need to bring these infrastructure. You can't overlook the need for infrastructure investment inside of the Central Valley. The basic infrastructure needed at all these kind of networking places from the valley to the coast, it has to be invested in. This idea that we can just do all of this on the coast and somehow we out here in the valley where everything is freaking made or manufactured, I mean, this is where it comes from. You don't need end where it goes to, you have to have where it comes from as well, infrastructure to support the goods that move out to our ports. So that was a great opportunity, and we really appreciate the committee taking the time and welcoming us as Aggies and as almonds to talk about this. So that was on the state side. On the federal side, a couple of announcements here. So press release will be going out with more information. We have put this out in e-news, but it bears repeating. As you know, because the backstory on this is so good. RMA is now allowing insurance on fourth leaf almonds. You need to talk with your crop insurance provider if you are interested in getting a crop insurance for your fourth leaf almonds. This is a big change, and this directly came out of the work of the Almond Alliance, and you are members. If you'll recall, in 2022, early that year, we got hit with some incredible winter storm and heavy freeze, hard freeze damage, especially in the North State. And we saw a ton of damage to our baby trees. In fact, we codified that information. We handed it to USDA and they said, we don't have anything for this. You have insurance in California. We had to do a lot of education on the fact that, well, we have insurance for 6-leaf trees and we have great enrollment in insurance for 6-leaf and above, but we don't have anything for the guys and gals who are risking in the middle. That there's this gap of time. And normally you would have the non-insurable crop program, the NAP program from FSA available, but because there's an existing insurance product in California, they wouldn't allow NAP coverage for almonds. And so working with our incredible growers, working with our county ag commissioners, and being the most annoying thorn in some people's sides, but more importantly, doing the work, doing the legwork, and writing the solution that we wanted. Our partners at RMA have been working diligently over a year now to make sure that this product was made available to us. So I'm very happy to report that, again, insurance is available on fourth leaf almonds. Talk to your insurance provider, go to RMA to learn more. Keep an eye out for more information from us. And thank you. Thank you, all of you who endure these damages, endure these losses and these hardships from natural disasters, and still hang on. And report and work with us to help us better get things for you and better get services and resources to you. Little by little, we'll make it better. Sometimes we have to take the first hit in order to get the solution on board so that when it happens again, we don't all suffer the same fate and we don't repeat our mistakes of the past or the tragedies of the past, because we've learned and we've mitigated and we make sure we have the tools available to us. So thank you again for sticking with us, and look out for more information on that. Okay, other cool big news that came up this week. So there was an interesting thing that came across the wires. Turkey, the nation of Turkey, which is, as you know, Middle East, one of our top 4 export markets. One of our priorities, hot off of the India tariff reductions announced earlier this year, we were keen on pushing on, okay, this is great, let's go work the same negotiations with Turkey. This is something we've been talking about for quite a while at the Alliance, something we've been talking about a lot with our partners in Washington, the delegation, the administration, a number of others. Great reception on that. This has been a priority, we know it. So fantastic, except we found out last week, Turkey published in their Gazette, which is a bulletin, that they intended to increase tariffs on almonds. This gets a little tricky here. So for almonds, the basic duty would increase from 2% to 15%, plus the 10% retaliatory duty that was already applied on almonds in 2019 in response to U.S. Section 232 tariffs. If you'll recall, this is the tariffs on the import of Turkish aluminum and steel. And so what this means for us, well, it could mean that if Turkey goes through with this, we're looking at a 25% tariff on almonds. Also announced that they were going to increase their financial responsibility taxes on imported goods of almonds as well. So based off of what we got out of that, USDA also talked about it in some of their notifications as well. This information has been shared and a lot of education has been done on it, and we were really happy to see the delegation out of Congress send a letter to U.S. Trade Representative Catherine Tai, as well as to the administration beyond, saying, hey, this is a problem, and really talking about almonds specifically, that in the middle of these negotiations, do not forget that almonds are in this. We already were dealing with retaliatory tariffs, and now this on top of it. Stick up for American almonds, stick up for American almond farmers. So we're very thankful to see from the delegation, the leadership on this. And it was a mixed delegation. It was bipartisan. It was great. You saw everybody from John Duarte, Jim Costa. We even saw some urban members, Adam Schiff. We saw our coastal members, Jimmy Panetta, who actually does have almonds. He's part of the Almond Caucus, which is awesome. Mike Thompson, and David Valadeo, so many others. So it was a nice bipartisan letter. We do know it's getting traction, which is good. I think the more that this develops And yeah, look, times we're weird right now, and negotiations are interesting. To us, this is another piece of ammo in the arsenal that needs to be top of mind when we're negotiating. We're really thankful for their insisting on American almonds staying top of mind in these trade negotiations and looking out for our American farmers and our American markets for our American goods like almonds. So especially when you think about the importance of this market for us, and right now where we're really needing to move a lot of volume, any barrier that's in our way from being able to do that has got to get out if it's possible. So we'll keep you up to date on this. It's going to keep ever developing, but rest assured, Almond Alliance is staying on top of trade issues for you, as we know this is, it's part of our business, which is awesome. So great work for the team, great work for, kudos to everyone who's been involved in that, and more to come. So last but not least, we had a great PAC event this week. Almond PAC, if you're a member, we really appreciate your continued support. This is the war chest that allows us to support our allies, develop new friends, and to continue to develop these relationships that are so key. One of the amazing parts of the annual Almond PAC event is being able to award the Almond Champion of the Year award. This year it went to the Department of Water Resources Landflex team. We were so happy to have Deputy Director Paul Gosselin on hand, Senior Policy Advisor Teji Sandhu as well, to accept the award. Also our great FFAers who are there always helping us celebrate. It's great to have them there too, to learn this side of advocacy and agriculture. So the Landflex program, as you're familiar with, we've done a lot of podcasts on it, but we finished out the round. And it was wonderful to be able to, I think, not hear it from me, but hear it from the department talking about their commitment to this program, their commitment to working with almond farmers as part of the solution and not part of the problem, and really keeping us out of, I think the danger zone, which is Sigma non-compliance means you have state intervention, and their commitment utilizing tools like Landflex to work with us to keep us out of that scenario and to keep us farming and on the landscape. And to hear their story of how working with industry, working with the Alliance, working with Western United Dairies, they've learned so much about agriculture and how agriculture can actually be a partner in achieving groundwater health, groundwater sustainability. And we look forward to continuing to work with them. It was a great night. We thank you all. If you're interested in supporting Almond PAC and checking out those exclusive types of events where you get to rub elbows with folks like that and get to hear more, learn more at almondalliance.org and click on that PAC button and you can learn more there. And we've got a lot more coming out for the PAC. We've got a lot more events coming up. Those are our tours. Those are our roundtables. Those are some exclusive DC fly-ins coming up in the next year. Now that we actually have a frickin' calendar, thank you for electing a Speaker of the House. In case you didn't know that, you can't get a calendar for the next year of Congress until the Speaker sets it. Really, I know. These are the things we deal with. So great event. Thanks to everybody who supports. And if you're interested in more, almondalliance.org. Last but not least, it's coming. Pack your bags. We're going to Hawaii, kids. Breaking Out of the Shell, Almond Alliance Convention 2024, April 22nd to the 25th in Kauai. I've never been, but it looks awesome. And we've got an awesome speaker lineup. We're changing up the agenda a little bit. We're going to go really intense on the main stage with some really cool keynote speakers. Some folks you know and love, Stacey Henderson, Matt Clark, I think is committed to come back. At least he's a tentative, or maybe by me saying this here, he'll be forced to come back with us. And a number of others. We also are going to do some really cool breakouts that seem to be the feedback from last year. And so we're really excited to give you more in-depth time with our teams from Sacramento and Washington, as well as your incredible leaders at the Grower Committee and at the Hohler-Scheller Committee. I'm actually really looking forward to the way we're laying this out and where we're laying this out and possibly laying out, because girlfriend likes a tan. So check it out. Breaking Out of the Shell, Almond Convention 2024. Registration will open on January 9th. Mark your calendars. Up until then, we will see you at Almond Conference, Almond Board's massive, great gathering of all things almond in Sacramento in December. We're going to be hosting office hours at our booth. I'm participating on a couple of panels. Come learn about pollinators and endangered species, water, and more. We're going to be all over that joint, and we hope to see you there. So that'll be in December as well. We hope you're doing well. We rounded out Halloween. It was great. Hope you didn't freak out. I dressed up. It's a great time. And we hope you're heading out of harvest, that you're healthy and that you're safe. We know, with the things we're hearing and seeing from the crop this year, it can be tough. We're still harvesting, my family, we're still harvesting cotton right now. And it's just, this is farming, man. Sometimes things break and it ruins your day. And it's you all who have the courage and the wherewithal to cuss and fight and hit the machine with a wrench and make it work again and struggle and strive through it. And you all go to bed at night and you wake up in the morning and you do it again. And I can't thank you enough. You're our inspiration. And it's why we do what we do, is because you do what you do. And we thank you so much. And we hope you have a great weekend.